Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'll go through with the changes to the Mining Act. The Secretary and the Minister has already touched on the preliminaries, so I'll just go straight into the change. Basically, when we were formed in 2009, we got together with the industry, with other state departments, and we set together a roadmap for us. That's the vision and the mission. And this is basically what we came up with. Our vision was that by 2015, we will have a globally competitive mineral policy legislative framework and a state-of-the-art geohazard management system. That's basically covering our functions. We have two functions. And our mission was that we exist to improve the quality of life and safety of our people in Papua New Guinea through effective mineral policy and reduction of geological risk. So we serve two functions. One, we monitor earthquake, tsunami, landslide, and all that. Looking after the safety of our people. The other part of it is related to the industry. We look after the mineral policies and the legislation of this country. Okay, the review when it came up, it was in line with what the government focus was. And as the Minister for State Enterprises stated, it is also in line with the recent SME summit that was held in Leh and all that. So our theme for this review was reforming the way government do business in mining. And much have been said on that, so I won't go into that, I'll just go straight. And our sub-theme was improving the quality of life for our people. I'll go straight into the changes. Okay, most of the changes that I will talk about are the main ones that we made in the legislation. The parts that I will not talk on are the ones that we have not changed. These changes came about after we conducted our consultation in 2011 and the comments that we received from all the stakeholders, and also after looking at the 2006 draft that was in place. Okay, firstly, consultation. Every mine developer must have two things. One, a community engagement plan and a grievance mechanism. A community engagement plan is basically telling us how you would go out and conduct your engagement with the community, your consultations, your discussions with the community and all that. That will be developed in consultation with the MRA, with other line government agencies, with the provincial government, the local level government, and the landowners. And so that would set a guideline in which, a plan in which you will go out and consult with the community. And that plan must be submitted to the MRA, and MRA will actually do make sure it has been implemented and followed accordingly. The next thing that will be required is the grievance mechanism. A grievance mechanism, we know right now we don't have anything in place where landowners, provincial government, industry, or the government can go through to address issues. So we have landowners shutting down mines when they're not happy with anything. They talk to the government doesn't listen to them, or to pass a mine gets shut down. And it doesn't really help the situation. So we've put in place a grievance mechanism. It is an international best practice principle. A grievance mechanism will be developed in consultation with all the parties. All the parties must take ownership of it, agree that if we have an issue, this is how we will address that issue. And once we agree on that particular issue, then it comes into existence. MRA will monitor it. The development forum. In the past, the minister invites four people: the industry, the developer, the national government, the provincial government, and the landowners. We've expanded it to allow the minister to invite other parties that may have interest in the project, so that we cover all the interest. Everybody with interest in that particular project are invited to the development forum, and we discuss all the issues. Reservation of land from mining. The minister is empowered to reserve land from mining. Dealings in mining. Right now, when minister put in place a reservation, all dealings in mining are put on hold until that reservation is lifted. In the new legislation, it is saying when dealings in mine, when a minister reserves an area for mining, all dealings in land are suspended. When the reservation is lifted, then you apply as if it's a new license. This is basically to address issues that we had regarding the state's power to put in place reservations, moratorium, and so forth. That was not in the current legislation, so we've captured that to allow the government to be able to put in place those reservations. Specific areas identified that will not be touched, such as areas for public purposes, historical, cultural, or archaeological significance, those particular areas will not be touched. Tenement administration, the Mining Advisory Council, the powers under the current legislation is general. It says the council can determine its own functions as it pleases. That power is still there. But what we basically done is define the powers, define what the council is required to do. It also asks the applicant. When you apply for a license, you know that these are the requirements I must meet for the council to deal with my application. Some of the preconditions to the granting of an exploration license or mining lease: you must have an environment permit, Section 46 of the Environment Act. We're giving recognition to the particular restraint that's placed on the MAC from dealing with any license. You must obtain an environment permit before you come to us to deal with your license, with your application. You must have a good reputation. You must have IPA certification. You must have financial capacity. One of the requirements is that you must have an operating bank account in Papua New Guinea. You want to do business in PNG? Bring your money to PNG so we will deal with you. You must be, if you're listed on the stock exchange, it must be a reputable stock exchange. You must have technical capacity, appropriate work program. You must have the people to do the job, not apply for a license and start looking around for people to come and do the job for you. The warrant hearing report is also important, and whatever dealings you do in mining must be done in accordance with the laws of this country. So that's basically what it's about. Additional requirements: the precondition to the granting of a mining lease. All applicants for a mining lease will be required to submit upfront a conceptual mine closure plan. That closure plan will also require a security bond. And we are developing a policy on that, and when that policy comes out, we will give you to comment on those policies. But that's basically the requirement. All applicants for mining lease must submit a conceptual mine closure plan upfront. Another requirement: you must have a mine waste management plan upfront as well. That will be one of the policies we develop next year. But the law is requiring that to be submitted upfront with your application. And then we must have a relocation plan, basically a conceptual relocation plan. You tell me how you will relocate the people if I give you the license. If there's a need to relocate people, how do we go about dealing with it? And we have a policy that's currently been developed, and a presentation will be made later on relocation. Business engagement plan. This is basically saying that every 50% of all major works must be 50% of all major works must be given to the landowners. That's basically what this is saying. And it's saying must be given to the landowner business entity. That will be negotiated by the SNT. SNT is a state negotiating team that was established by an recent NEC decision. The business engagement plan is basically covering the business development plan and the supply and procurement plan that we have in the MOA. But that will be covered in the business engagement plan and negotiated upfront. Social mapping and land-on identification, it becomes a mandatory requirement at the exploration stage. When you do exploration, you do the initial social mapping and land-on identification. When you apply for a mining lease, that's when you're required to do a comprehensive study and submit it to the state. Tenement administration, again, still on that. Online tenement administration, giving just recognition to what MRA is doing. Exploration license, it's currently 2 years. That has been moved out to 5 years. Situation of give and take, it's been moved up to 5 years, but the area will be reduced by half, from 2,500 square kilometers to 1,250 square kilometers. And the exploration license per holder, all license holders are required to hold up to 10 licenses. Where a particular company requires more than 10 licenses, then you can apply to the minister. And that will go through the normal MAC process. And where the state thinks that you have the capacity and all that, it can be given to you. Expeditious consideration of license application, the turnaround time is set at 3 months. So the applicant makes an application. The state will be required to deal with that license application within the 30 days. Then it goes to the minister for his approval. If the minister does not respond within the 60 days turnaround time, the developer can inquire with the chairman of the MAC say what's going on with my license. So we are required to give a response to you. If we don't, after the 90 days period, the license is deemed to be granted. So we are also required to perform our role. We must do our job if we are going to impose on the industry as well. So that's basically one of the requirements we put in. Annual reporting, basically it's moved up to 5 years, so there will not be a requirement for biannual reporting, just one reporting for 1 year. Special mining lease is merged with the mining lease. So mining lease term, it's moved up to 40 years. That's currently under the special mining lease. A renewal after 20 years. Mining retention license, we do not have that in the current Mining Act. We've included the mining retention license. We also appreciate that developers apply for licenses to retain particular areas, and you normally apply for SME or ME, which is not really relevant. So we put it in place to cater for that situation. Reporting, there's a requirement in the mining legislation that states that all information relating to the geology or minerals or PNG must be given to the state. But specific type of information is specified in legislation. Those specific information will be required to be given to the state, and the information that are given to the state will be audited by an independent auditor. Contracts and agreement, clear definition of the three types of contracts that we have in place. A compensation agreement will be reviewed every 3 years, taking into account any increment like CPI increases and so forth. MOA to be reviewed every 5 years or less, subject to the agreement of the parties. MDCs reviewed every 5 years. Clause in there states that all agreements will be reviewed when there's a major variation or substantial change to the program or activity. That will trigger a review. Move on to state equity participation. We've just changed that to a nominated state entity. We initially had Petromin in there, it was changed again to Kumul Mining Holdings Limited, so we just left it as a nominated state entity. States claim to 50% participatory option. The 30% right of the state remains as it is right now. We're saying the 20% extra can be negotiated on commercial terms. Where a joint venture partner decides to offload its share in a particular project, that the state must be given the first right of refusal. Give that to the state. If the state doesn't take it up, the landowners and the provincial government can exercise that option. If they're not able to, then you can go out. So that's basically what it's about. And the shares that given to the provincial government and the landowners increase from 2.5% up to 5% each. That's from the state's 30% share. Royalty, in the savings provisions, we've captured royalty at 2%. We have issues with royalty right now. So we say that let's maintain it at 2%, because currently there's a review being done on the fiscal regime, and that also includes royalty. And there's discussion between the Department of Treasury with assistance from the IMF. We are doing ours with the Commonwealth Secretariat, and we have a working team with the Treasury Department. So once that goes to the government and NEC decide on what should be the what should be done at that time, then we will come back and inform the industry and talk to everyone. But right now we just maintain the status quo. We're saying let's maintain royalty at 2%. If during the discussion we say it goes up or it goes down, then that's subject to the discussions that we will have when it comes to that. In the clause it says that there will be a review every 3 years, and that will be done with the PNG Chamber of Mines and Petroleum and the state. And regulations will capture the particulars. We're also looking at whether we maintain the current system that we have, a standard rate for all minerals, or do we have different rates for different minerals, or what other options do we look at? So we've looked at all those options, but that will come once we complete the review of the fiscal regime. Okay, flying flag, I've just crossed that out because the requirement right now is that all miners must develop sustainable local township. When there is an existing township within the project area, the miner must look at developing that township, but not just putting in place houses and when you go, everything collapses. We must look at developing it sustainably. So we have a sustainable policy that is currently being developed, and we will also give that out when it's done. Dealings with the first term license, that restriction has been removed to enable our juniors and local entrepreneurs to go into business. So that restrictions have been removed. Downstream processing, up to 70% of the minerals extracted must be smelted and refined in PNG. But as a condition, we must have a refinery of international standards. This is basically captured in all the MDCs that we have, in the 3 MDCs that we have. Those provision is captured in that, so we just got that reflected in the current draft that we have. Geothermal resource, 51% to be given to resource owners. Currently, we are working on a geothermal resource policy, and the team will be going down to, we're working with the New Zealand High Commission, and the team will be going down next month to see how the setup is with the landowners and with the national, with the government and so forth. So that policy will be developed and introduced next year. Okay. Offshore mining, we basically capture offshore mining to be done under the current existing legislation. Under the provision of the Mining Act. Allows for foreign scientific research, technology transfer, and so forth. A presentation will be made in the afternoon. But it also provides for seabed protection area. If it is identified that particular areas need to be protected, seabed, those areas will be declared as protected areas, and we will not allow mining to go into those particular areas. And of course, the developer will be required to comply with international standards, and those will be specified in the policy. Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, EITA. Quarterly reports will be required to be given to the audit committee. There's an audit committee that will be established under the new legislation. The national government through the MRA, the provincial government through the provincial administrator, developers through the CEO and the landowner association chairman. Everyone must declare the benefit derived from any mining project. So whoever gets what, you declare it for the public to know. And the failure to declare creates a liability on the respective heads of this particular organization, the landowner chairman, the developer, on the provincial administrator, on our MD. Okay, audit. There's a new provision in the new legislation that requires audit to be done on the reports that are given to the state by the developer. Audits on the report, the information, and the application of the application on the particular license, the exploration license, mining license, and audit will be carried out. MRE and audit will be carried out on their performance and compliance. And for DMPGM, effectiveness of the policies and laws that we have, we will engage people to actually come out and carry out audit on what we are doing as well. And independent mine auditor will have the power to prosecute. So everybody will be required to comply with the request of the independent auditor. Its powers as specified within the new legislation. Okay, prosecution for breaches. Currently, we do not have that in the current legislation. We've put in place a provision that empowers the MRA to give notice to the Solicitor General to institute civil actions, and with the public solicitor for criminal actions where the need arises. Penalty, we've increased the penalty looking at other legislation that are currently in PNG as well as externally. General penalty, a fine up to 1 million. Specific penalty, fine up to 500,000. Default penalty, 100,000. And 4 months imprisonment, or the director can impose fines. So basically, this is basically for deterrence. Okay, I'll just run you through. That basically completes what I wanted to present, but I'll just run you through the flow chart that we came up with. Exploration. Well, I'll just go through it summary again. Exploration. What will be required at the exploration stage? A preliminary social mapping and landowner identification, and compensation payment will be discussed at that time. The mining lease approval. What is required? The environmental approval, a comprehensive social mapping and landowner identification, a development forum, community engagement plan, grievance mechanism, conceptual mine closure plan, mine waste management plan, preliminary relocation plan, and a business engagement plan. That's at the mine lease approval stage. Also, under the MOA negotiations, we identify the parties to the MOA, the stakeholder undertakings, royalty distribution, equity distribution, seed capital, special support grant, tax credit scheme, and the infrastructure development. But that will be negotiated under the MOA negotiations. During construction, all mines are required to have a registered mine manager, appointment of inspectors by MRA, appointment of town and infrastructure manager. That's required under the the new Mining Safety Act. Health and safety management plan, an emergency plan, health and safety committee, compliance and implementation of the license conditions and MDC, and implementation of the MOA obligations. Construction. Production, implementation and compliance continues. Closure, implementation of the closure plan 5 years prior to decommissioning. Closure obligations and rehabilitation, that's under closure. And then the last one would be sustainability. The whole drive of this particular exercise is to make sure what we do is sustainable. At the end of the whole exercise, when the mine closes, we want to know that the well-being of our people is sustained into the future, and not just we leave a big hole and we walk away, nothing comes out of it, nothing better comes out of it. We want to make sure our people have a good livelihood that continues into the future. It also covers monitoring of post-closure impact and the extent of the developer's liability. To what extent do we cut it off? Do they continue forever? It cannot happen that way, so we need to, at some stage, put a stop to it. So that's basically my presentation. Thank you.